2022 offers us the opportunity for a new year and new movements against this government. But there are a couple of things we need to focus in on. First of all, we need a mass united front movement on housing to take to the streets as soon as possible in 2022. The housing crisis is just rumbling on and on and on, and thousands of working class kids spent Christmas in hotels and B&Bs and in homelessness, asking their parents, will Santa Claus find us? And Fianna Fáil's Darragh O'Brien is just making the situation worse rather than better. Vulture funds are still gobbling up estates. Landlords are still racking up the rents. Private developers are still being gifted public land. Housing in Ireland is a racket, and the landlord TDs are part of the game. So you cannot expect them to fix a problem that they benefit from. When we say the housing market and housing in Ireland isn't working for working class people, it's certainly working for the people at the top who are making a hell of a lot of money, particularly vulture fund landlords like Éire, the Canadian vulture. That's the biggest landlord in Ireland right now. So we need to take to the streets. We need the trade unions, we need Sinn Féin, People Before Profit, community groups like CATU, the Residents' Union. We need everybody to come together and all push together for a massive united front protest. Because if you just sit on your arse and wait for the next election, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael manage to cling to power for another 3 years, imagine how much worse things will be in 6 months, in a year's time, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time. The kids who are in homelessness, they can't afford to wait. Secondly, we need to fight on wages. Inflation is over 5%. So if you got a 2% wage rise last year or this year, you've actually taken a 3% pay cut. Anything less than the 5% rate of inflation is a pay cut. But if you add in rents that have gone up by 7 to 11% in most places across Ireland, and then energy bills which have gone up by 37%, working class families and working class people are being hammered. And yet many of the trade union leaders are asking for pay rises between 2.5 and 4.5%. It's not enough. Thirdly, we need to continue to build the COP26 Climate Protest Coalition that had an amazing protest of thousands out on the streets of Dublin before Christmas. Climate change isn't just some far off issue. If this government get their way, they're going to put carbon tax after tax after tax after tax on working class people and push more and more people into fuel poverty. 2,000 to 3,000 old people die every single year because of fuel poverty. But the Green Party seem to think that pushing working class and poor people into fuel poverty will somehow solve the climate crisis, and it won't. They're giving all our water and electricity to big corporate data centres, while our bills go up by 37%. The great thing about the COP26 coalition that mobilised before Christmas was it involved trade unionists, it involved the working class. The idea of a just transition, that the costs of climate change should be borne by those who can afford it, the people at the top, the likes of Beef Baron Larry Goodman or billionaire Dennis O'Brien. And so not only do we need climate protests, we need working class climate protests. Big protest movements, whether on our wages, on housing or on climate, can change the political atmosphere in the country. The water charges movement, by mobilising 100,000 people on a dozen occasions, made it impossible for any party to introduce water charges. We have to do the same on housing or on wages or on climate. We have to make sure that we kick up such a fuss that it's impossible for any party to not do the things we want. And that includes parties like Sinn Féin. Because to be honest, it would be great to get rid of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. But some in the Sinn Féin leadership are willing to talk to Fianna Fáil. But if we get out on the streets, we change the political context. We can't wait 3 years for an election. The homeless can't afford to wait. People in mortgage arrears can't afford to wait. Young people paying exorbitant rents can't afford to wait. Workers whose wages are being eroded by inflation can't afford to wait. 2022 has to become a year of popular people power protest.